we've looked at several levels of biological complexity. You may remember way back at the beginning of the class, we went through quite a list of different things, and we've basically been working our way up through that. So we looked at the molecules. Molecules, in turn, may be building organelles within a cell. Cells, some organisms have just one cell, but many, including ourselves, have many cells, and these cells may be organized into tissues. Tissues may be organized into organs. Organs may be organized into organ systems, all part of a single organism. But just one organism is not all by itself. John Donne wrote that no man is an island, and that is true of all species. Each individual is interacting with other individuals of the same species in a population. Populations interact with each other to form communities of different species. When we add various abiotic factors such as the rocks, the soil, temperature, water, salt, all these types of things, now we go from community to ecosystems, and we have large-scale, multiple ecosystems together making biomes and even the whole biosphere. So, for the rest of the class, we'll be focused on these larger-scale patterns of ecology, how organisms interact with each other and their environment. And we'll start with the population level. So, the textbook identifies this as a poppy population. However, the poppy patch passes past the picture perimeter, probably portraying a partial poppy population. But what is a population? Again, it is a group of individuals of the same species that interact with each other to some degree. And of course, different degrees. You can have a smaller population that does interact a little with another, and so you can kind of have a bigger meta-population made of smaller populations. Exactly where to draw the lines challenge. But it makes a big difference what it is. Poppies are plants. One of these poppies cannot get up and walk over there to meet a poppy in another patch. Now, true, a pollinator could potentially, say a bee come by, pick up pollen there and fly to another patch, but probably that bee is going to be flying around in the same patch for a while. So this poppy patch here is probably largely breeding with others in the patch, relatively separated. In contrast, humans, as the viruses illustrate all too well, we're doing a pretty good job mixing all over the globe. It's hard to identify any separate subpopulation of humans that isn't doing quite a lot of mixing with everybody else. And you could kind of make some divisions there, but these days with transportation we're mixing quite freely, and so we've more or less got one population globally. Different species will vary as to what the boundaries might be for a population. Ecology, again, it's the study of how living things and the physical inner environment interact with each other. And so this tends to be quite complicated. We tend to have webs where this thing, well, it may not directly interact with that, but this one affects that, and that affects this, and then this affects that. So there's lots of interconnection, sometimes not always obvious, and it can be quite complex. Biotic factors refer to the influence of living things. Abiotic would be various non-living causes, not biological. Viruses, well, they're kind of biotic, but they're not really fully alive either. So those would kind of fall more under biotic, but not really an organism. Lots of things are important. All these things tend to be important to us. How much water is there around? For example, on land, how much rain and or snow do you get in an area? On the one hand, most of us tend to like being outside more when it's not raining. But if there's no rain at all, we die of thirst while we're starving. That's not good. So we need enough water available to sustain ourselves and our food sources, but we tend to not really like it when it's really soggy all the time. We don't live underwater. Temperature. Pretty conspicuous this time of year because there's a fair amount of variation. If you like it cold, you like the evening and not so much the middle of the afternoon. If you like it warm, middle afternoon's feeling kind of nice, and night you're under all the blankets. And other living things, likewise, big influence of temperature. pH, up here, us living in the air for the most part. Our feet are on the ground, but the rest of us is up in the air. pH of our surroundings is not something that we really deal with. Air doesn't have a pH. But it is very important having the right balance inside us, and exposure to chemicals that have extreme pH is not good for you. But things that live either in the soil or in water, the pH there needs to be in the range that that type of organism can tolerate. And there's variation. For example, snails and clams make their shells out of calcium carbonate, which dissolves at even relatively slightly high pH. They're not going to do well in water that's at all acidic. Even when this is a relatively natural occurrence. For example, a cypress swamp can get on the acidic side, or some types of bogs can be acidic to the point where there are no snails and clams living in them. But other things don't mind so much. You can have things like fish, amphibians, some worms that are more tolerant. Of course, you got bacteria and archaea that like crazy pHs. Amount of wind. Of course, us, when it gets too windy, we just find some shelter. But that's not an option for a plant. So, if an area is too windy, that may be too hard on the plant. It can't grow there. Air that's too still may be a problem. For example, plants that have seeds that can be blown in the wind. If there's no wind, those seeds aren't going anywhere. Different influences there. The simple mineral nutrients needed by living things. Is there the right amount? Not too much, not too little. This is very important for what can live there. Again, plants not being able to go off someplace else in search of options are more restricted in this regard. We have areas here and there in the mountains, for example. They're known as serpentine barrens. Serpentine is a type of rock, and it turns out that rock has rather low levels of a number of common mineral nutrients, rather high levels of some other things. So a lot of plants are not going to be real happy with that. That's why they're referred to as barrens. The vegetation is characteristically sparser than your normal areas with more ordinary rock types underneath. But there are some plants that specialize. They're able to grow with that combination where there's not much competition, because most other plants are not happy. And so those plants, if you're a botanist looking for rare things, find a serpentine barren, you may find some plants that aren't usually seen elsewhere in the area because of that different soil. Light levels. Obviously, plants and algae need light for photosynthesis. Of course, a lot of us don't photosynthesize, but we still see and like certain levels of light for doing that. So, a variety of issues. Water flow. Mentioned wind already. Same principle in the water. As water's moving fast, if you can't hang on, you're going to be washed away. And that's probably not going to be good. So different things like calmer water, other things like more actively moving water, important. You can probably think of many other things, non-living environmental factors that would be important as well. Ecology is a very broad field, so it's appropriate that we're kind of thinking about with the Broad River trip. Unfortunately, all of you don't get to go there. I got to head down there yesterday, take some pictures. I'll be putting this up on Blackboard for you to look at and think about with regard to the lab. Ecology brings in aspects of all other areas of biology. The DNA down to the molecular level, well, that's giving the different organisms the genes that allow them to deal with or not be able to deal with various environmental factors. Also, increasingly, looking at DNA is used to characterize an environment. So, for example, I looked around here, and here are the types of things I saw. But if you take a sample and analyze for DNA, you may detect some things that you didn't see. Perhaps they were buried, perhaps they're not as common, and you just didn't happen to run across it. But the DNA is a marker suggesting that they're there even though you didn't see it. Or even identifying things. DNA can be used as a marker to figure out, I found some sort of snail here, but which one is it? Well, looking at the DNA may tell you that. And of course, understanding how organisms interact, well, knowing how they work is a big part of that. The anatomy and physiology, what different types of organs and organ systems and sensory abilities and things like that obviously play a big role in what that organism can do in the environment. So all sorts of areas of biology are coming in here. Lots of information and energy transfers going on here. For example, ecology. If you are a plant getting your energy from the sunshine, that's an abiotic factor interacting with you. That's ecology. If you decide you need to pause the lecture here and go get some popcorn, you're getting something that came from a different organism, a corn plant. You're putting ecology into practice. And of course, the information. Is this a good place to be? There are lots of different types of signals that you can get between different organisms, whether they're of the same species or different species. Competition, predation, all sorts of ways there are interactions that involve information as well as energy. There's even lots of things outside of biology. A lot of geology and other areas of earth science, chemistry, pH, particle levels, things like that. For marine species, how the ocean works. Those of us up in the air, the weather, climatology, meteorology, physics, the function. Okay, an organism's got bones and muscles. They move. Movement. That's what a lot of physics is about. So lots and lots of different things all tied together. There's a lot you can do in ecology. Very complex. So we have the whole field of environmental science that focuses on how humans are interacting with the environment.